Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the sections. I'm Wilson Gong, a Senior Marketing Cloud Architect at Capgemini. Today, I'm going to share with you how Salesforce Marketing Cloud works with consent management. Quick introduction of myself. I've been working in Salesforce ecosystem for over 10 years. I have currently hold more than 30 Salesforce certifications. I'm also a triple star ranger on Trailhead. My Salesforce journey began as a CRM developer in 2014. And I worked on my first Marketing Cloud project in 2016. Since 2017, I became an architect, focusing on Marketing Cloud project and cross-cloud project. I joined Capgemini last year, and actually today is my first public speaking experience. So thank you for coming and your support in advance. So I'm going to share with you what I'm going to cover today. So I will start with what is consent management framework and the reason why you need it. Then I will share with you how I will apply consent management framework to different business scenarios. You can then decide whether it is applicable for your business and your client. Then I will share with you how consent is being managed in the Salesforce Marketing Cloud as well, and the consent data flow, as well as how you would leverage the consent in Marketing Cloud. Finally, I will share with you how the record looks like in the actual system. I would appreciate if you leave your questions at the end of the section, in the Q&A section. So to start with, what is Salesforce Consent Management Framework? It's actually a highly normalized data model that accommodates different aspects of privacy and consent management for individual customer. So with the model, you can track opt-in, opt-out statuses down to specific level, to specific brands, data use purposes, channels, and also contact points. So for example, you can define a customer opt into a specific channel, for example, on personal email for product updates to a specific brand. So unlike typical Salesforce object, consent data management object doesn't count towards the data usage in your CRM. So it is definitely one of the advantages that you would love to take, because you don't need to worry about each record in the consent model consume 2 kilobytes of your data usage. As for the reason why you will need it, is actually so it enables your organization to align with current and emerging regulatory requirements. You can also build trust with your customer by giving them control over their consent data. Also, you can streamline your data privacy management processes by handling customer requests related to the privacy. So you now know about what Salesforce Consent Management Framework is. So let's take a look at how I would apply it to different business scenarios. Scenario 1, we start with something nice and simple. So company A would like to capture just very simple requirement. They would like to capture just one email address and one mobile phone number from the customer for the consent. And they operate as a single brand. So here we have got John. Sorry. We have got John as the first customer. John would like to opt in email and SMS to receive communications from company A, while we have another customer, Stella, who would like to opt in email but not SMS to receive communications from company A. So how would I use the consent data model to support this business requirement? Let's take a look. On the left-hand side, you can see there are 3 standard objects in the CRM: contact, lead, and personal account. On the right-hand side, highlighted in green, these are consent management objects that don't count towards your data usage storage. So it depends on your business requirement, how you want to manage your customer information. You can use contact, lead, or personal account. So regardless of the object that you choose, they all link to an individual object, which then links to contact point email and contact point phone, which captures the actual email address and phone number. Each of the records then connects to contact point consent, which capture the actual opt-in, opt-out statuses, as well as other information such as capturing date, time, and also capturing channel. Each opt-in, opt-out status links to engagement channel type, which in this case is either email or SMS. So I've seen companies that using multiple checkboxes to handle this scenario. You may argue this design may be a little bit overkill, but with consent management framework, you can actually avoid multiple checkboxes on lead, contact, or account. And also, you could avoid creating multiple checkboxes in the future when your business would like to expand and include multiple brands. So, assuming that Company A has done an amazing job adopting the consent management framework, and they would like to expand their business. So Company A has acquired new business, Corner Shop, and also expand its business into multiple brands, brand B, brand C, and brand D. In this example, John would like to interact with and engage with Corner Shop and business brand D. So he would like to receive emails and SMS from Corner Shop. And John would like to receive SMS but not email from brand D. So how would I enable this situation with the consent data model? It's actually nice and simple. I will just add one additional object, business brand, linking to contact point consent record. So in this example, John would have one email address linking to the contact point consent record, indicating that he opt-ins to Corner Shop for the personal email. So when I say adding additional objects, I don't mean that you need to create a custom object in CRM from scratch. You just need to enable the object, which is part of the consent management framework. So I just need to adjust my processes to populate the records and link the record to the contact point consent. And that's it. And in this case, we don't need to create additional custom checkboxes on lead, contact, or personal account record, so that we can keep the architecture clean on those objects. So Company A has realized the benefit of using consent management framework, and they would like to provide more granular consent control to the customer. Here, we have got scenario 3, where Company A would like to give control to the customer on multiple business brands and multiple contact points per communication purposes. So in this example, John, who would like to opt into product updates and promotion and offers on his personal email to Corner Shop. At the same time, he could also opt in work email for offers from partner to Corner Shop, as well as other communication types and channels to different business units. So there are a combination of 24 different consent statuses in this scenario. How would I leverage the consent data model to enable this business change? Let's take a look. Similarly, I will not make a big change to the data model. I will just add additional data use purposes standard object as part of the consent management framework to the data model on the right-hand side. So you can see that each contact point consent record links to a data use purpose record. In this example, John, who would like to opt in email to Corner Shop, so he will have an email record on contact point email linking to contact point consent record with opt-in status. and linking to the product updates as part of the data use purpose for corner shop, and also email as an engagement channel type. Now, we have taken a look at how the consent is being managed in the CRM data model. Let's take a look at how it looks like in the Marketing Cloud. So on the left-hand side, we have the normalized data model from CRM. But actually, what we want in Marketing Cloud is a denormalized data structure that allows marketer to easily leverage it for campaign and segmentation purposes. So we need to kind of transform it and denormalize from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. So in this example, in the consent, what I will do is create a consent data extension in Marketing Cloud to capture all the consent information. So in scenario 3, we have got 24 different scenarios, consent statuses, which correspond to 24 records in the consent data model, consent data extension in Marketing Cloud. So for example, John will have one record opt into corner shop on his personal email for the updates, as well as other information like opt-in status and last modified date. So you may wonder, how do we transform from the left-hand side to the right-hand side? Let's take a look in the data flow. Here we have got this, how the consent is generated from the source. So we have customer and service agent. So on the left-hand side, top left-hand corner, customer may perform certain action to provide consent in the third-party platform, such as e-commerce or website. And also, he could go to the preference center to manage the consent statuses. Alternatively, service agent could also update the consent directly within Salesforce CRM via UI when they interact with the customer, either on the phone call or other communication channel. So all this information will be captured within Salesforce CRM, and all this information will be synchronized to Marketing Cloud in the corresponding synchronized data extension via standard connector, Marketing Cloud Connect. So once the data are in Marketing Cloud's synchronized data extension, we will go through an automation job to kind of transform and denormalize the records into consent data extension. So the automation job will execute on a regular basis. It could be daily, it could be hourly, depends on your business needs. So the first step is to find out any modified record in the last hour if you execute on an hourly basis. If there is any change, then we will execute 2 additional SQL query steps. So first one is to transform the contact point email related records in CRM into consent data extension. Similarly, we will have another job to transform contact point phone related records into CRM, into consent data extension. So now you have a rough idea how the transformation works. Let's take a look at how you will leverage the consent data extension in Marketing Cloud. So basically, there are 2 options to leverage it. First, you can, if you're familiar with the SQL query, then you can use a SQL query to prepare a sendable data extension, which can combine other data within Marketing Cloud to create a sendable data extension and use it as the entry source in Journey Builder to target your audience. This would be a recommended approach if you are familiar with SQL query, because you can provide the flexibility to build a sophisticated segmentation criteria to target your audience. However, you may not be familiar with SQL query, so what should I do? You could leverage option 2, which you will leverage this filter data extension and use it as the entry source in the Journey Builder, and then you can use the filter context function within the Journey Builder to filter the context. So for example, you're going to send an email campaign, you're going to send a campaign with email and SMS. In the criteria, you will just need to add channel equals email or channel equals SMS, and opt-in equals true. Optionally, you can add business brand equals company A if you are targeted to a company A only. In this case, you can ensure that you will have the audience populate with the consent to you to receive the communications in your journey. So in the above design, I've made a few assumptions. So Salesforce CRM is the system of records for consent. Any updates to the consent will happen in CRM first, and subsequently to other systems. And as you may be aware, there are a couple of objects in the consent management framework as well, but I've only selected some of them that is applicable to the business scenario. So let's jump to the demo, which I will show you how this records looks like in the actual system. So on the screen, we have got John as the customer in scenario 3. I've got contact record in this example, and this is now in the individual object. So underneath individual object, it links to contact point emails and contact point phones. So we have got John's personal email address as the primary email address. We have also got his work email as well as his personal mobile number. So let's take a look at his personal email. So each of the contact point email record links to contact point consents. So we can see that there are 6 contact point consent record here. So we can see John has opted into product updates for corner shop as well as promotion and offers. He opted out to offers from partner for corner shop. So similarly, he opted into everything for business brand D. So let's take a look at the contact phone record as well. So under contact point phone record, he has got 12 different statuses. So for different communication purposes and also different business brand for different channel for phone and SMS. So you can see how it looks like in CRM now. And let's jump to the consent data extension in Marketing Cloud. We have got a consent data extension here. So there are 24 records for John for different consent statuses. So for example, you can see John has opted into corner shop on his personal email for product updates. Let's say I'm now John going to the preference center to manage consent. So you can see that John can manage different consent statuses. For example, he could manage the product updates, promotion and offers from partner for different communication purposes on different channels. Let's say I am not John, I do not want to receive product updates for personal email anymore. I can just uncheck it and click Save. So what is happening behind the scene is all the information will be synchronized to Salesforce CRM in the consent management objects. So if I go back to CRM, go back to the personal email and refresh it, I can see that product updates has been updated to opt out because I've unchecked the checkbox for corner shop just now. And then similarly, the information will be synchronized to Marketing Cloud and undergo the automation transformation. So let's take a look at the automation job here. So we have got the automation which execute on an hourly basis. So first step is to find out any modified consent record happening in the last hour. And then we go through a verification step to check if there's any modified record. If there is any modified record, then we will go through two transformation SQL query to transform contact point email related records into consent data extension. And similarly, we have another SQL query to transform contact point phone related records from consent synchronized data extension into consent DE. Let's take a look at the SQL query. So basically, I just need to join all the contact point email related objects together so that we can denormalize it and put it into consent DE. So if I jump back to, let's say I've executed the automation. If I jump back to the consent DE, refresh it, and I can see that John has actually opted out to the corner shop on his email just now. So this is what this actual records in the system looks like. Let me do a quick recap of what I've shared with you today. So I've shared with you the quick intro about consent management framework and the reason why you need it. I've also shared how I would apply consent objects to 3 business scenarios. So simple scenario, complex to complex scenario. I've also shared with you how the consent data extension looks like in Marketing Cloud, as well as the end-to-end flow, and how would you leverage the consent DE in Marketing Cloud. And finally, I've shared with you the demo, how the records look like in CRM and Marketing Cloud. So according to the poll responses for these sections, many of you have not used the consent management framework. So I hope this section you will find it helpful to apply the consent management framework to your business and your client. So thank you very much. Any questions from anyone?
Hello.
Yeah?
So you mentioned there is a connector to connect Marketing Cloud and Core, and it goes from Core to Marketing Cloud.
That's right.
Can it be bidirectional? If we were to update, let's say, Marketing Cloud, could we apply the changes back in Core? Or?
Yes, if the preference center is hosted on Marketing Cloud, you can definitely leverage the mscript function to update CRM directly. So it could be bidirectional.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah?
Question. So, if you want to wait to...
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So if you want to give out the permission for a short period, for example, when a flight is cancelled, how would you do that in this data model?
Do you mean the consent status for a period of time?
Yeah, so let's say you get a WhatsApp message on the flight updates, but you're annoyed by it, so you want to opt out of it, but for the next flight, you still want the opt-in.
So you could leverage the contact point consent record, which you can specify the effective from and effective to. So you can provide a time frame that you want to opt into particular communication type for a particular time frame. That is how you can do it.
You would extend the existing model.
Yeah, so you can define different time period. For example, within the preference center, you can define different period, and then you can update to the consent data model. Yeah, delete.
Hi, could you expand on the need to denormalize the data into one data extension in Marketing Cloud rather than directly use the channel subscription channel object?
Yeah, so in the if I go back to the consent data extension, so we have got the channel as one of the attributes. So you can specify which channel you are going to provide consent to, as well as we have got usage type. You can further define whether it is on a personal or work email address, for example, on the consent data extension. Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure. So is it to accommodate the two, this one person having two different email addresses?
Yeah, so if you have two different email addresses, you have two different records within the consent data extension. And then in the journey builder, you can specify which record you would like to use, which email address, I mean.
You couldn't do that if you were using the channel consent.
So you can actually do it in the journey builder to specify which email address you would like to send it to.
And that I couldn't do in journey builder if I were to use channel consent object directly rather than creating it into the email.
Maybe we can take it offline and answer you, yeah? Any other questions? Yeah, I think we can take one last question.
Is this is for Marketing Cloud. What happens in the scenario on product? Can you handle that as well if people have multiple email addresses?
So Pardot is different. They work on a different mechanism. So this scenario works for Marketing Cloud only. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I am going to kick you off the stage, I'm afraid.
Troy,
Fritz.
thank you very much.
What we've seen is that there's market overload. People are buying really expensive technology, but they're really not making the most out of it.
We want to show people can strategize now to plan for the future and plan to kickstart those projects.